Morning all, we'll leave it a couple of minutes just for while people arrive and then we will make a start. Still a few people joining, so we'll just leave it another 30 seconds or so just to let the last ones join. Okay, I think we will make a start. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday morning, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Mark Richards, Director for Midlands Region for the CLA. I think I know a lot of you looking at the names on the screen, so very welcome to you all this morning. I'm delighted that we've got Amy Eggleston from Pastures Green, who is going to be talking to us this morning about social media and marketing. I will just ask Amy for the next slide, if he's got it. Excellent, here we go. So yes, welcome. There will be an opportunity for you to submit questions to Amy as we go through. What I would say, one point, just please make sure you do this via the question and answer button at the bottom, not via the chat. If you do it via the chat, we won't necessarily see it. So yeah, please make sure you use the Q&A button. So without further ado, nothing much more to say. I will hand over to Amy directly, who will begin the session.
Hello, I better just check you can all hear me okay and that you can see me as well as the presentation.
We can both see you and hear you.
That's good news. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be talking through a variety of topics, but all to do with social media. But I guess first I better introduce myself. So I am Amy, and I guess the purpose of this slide is that I am kind of living a bit of a dual life. So day to day, my family and I are dairy farmers in Leicestershire. We are based near Melton Mowbray, and we're currently milking 600 Frisian cows, all grazing, all spring calving, and to be honest, that is a big part of my day-to-day, takes up a lot of my time, and I absolutely love it. When I came home to join the family farm, I also decided to use some of my previous marketing experience and set up Pastures Green Communications, which I guess is what I'm trying to insinuate I'm doing on the right. This business helps other people with their marketing journey, tell their message, and hopefully that's what we're going to cover a bit of today. As Mark said, if you want to submit questions, please feel free. Hopefully I'll be able to see them popping up in the chat box. Yeah, hopefully they'll come up. And I'm happy to take them throughout or at the end, but there are three kind of sections. So I will pause at the end of a section and take time for questions. Firstly, I guess I wanted to talk about why social media is worthwhile, why you should be using it. I have spent quite a lot of my time using social media for my business, but also on a personal level. And so I'm a big advocate of how beneficial it can be. This presentation is going to cover social media both on a personal level, but also for a business. So some stuff will apply to you if you are a business, but others might be just for yourself. Obviously, but time is always a big struggle, which is what people always say to me. But social media gives you a great opportunity to connect with customers and to, I guess, put yourself out there in audiences that you wouldn't normally be exposed to. So whether you have got a website or not, you might not have a website, you might not have started your business yet, social media is a great place to start. And we're going to go through some basics of, I guess, how to get started and why you should do it. So a bit of introduction, as I said, this kind of matters to me whether you're setting up social media on a personal level or a business level. I think you should see social media like a brand. So I have a page which I started sharing my farm journey, and then obviously I have a business as well. I treat both like a brand. So what I mean by that is I am aware that everything I put online could be taken, screenshotted and used in the future. I try and keep things consistent. I try and make things simple for people to understand. And that's what a brand does. With this brand here, for example, they are advertising their shop window. That's what I think social media should be like. People should come to your shop window and immediately expect, what they're going to get. This is a clothes shop. You're going to see quite a lot of blue. What can we take from this for social media? We're going to talk about what you can put on social media, so content, and why you do that. We're going to talk about audience, so who, and that's the middle box. And we're going to talk about engagement, which is, I guess, how you get people to interact with your posts. Now, as I say, I'll stop between each session because I know there's quite a lot of information to get in, but hopefully we'll cover lots. Now, the first thing really is the content, and that's what you put online. And that's what people always ask me, saying, I lose inspiration with things. I don't know what to put on. I understand. But I think you need to start off with the why. So why are you doing this? Firstly, why did you set up this business? Or why do you want to share your journey? For me, for example, on a personal level, I'm a dairy farmer and I want to connect with other farmers, but also other consumers. So I feel there's misconceptions about the industry and I want people to see that those misconceptions are wrong. So I'm doing it as an educational piece. The reason this is important is because when I start posting content, it needs to be educational. It's fine if you don't want to be educational, that might not be your main why, but be clear about why you're doing what you're doing. For example, you could be setting up a farm diversification, such as a milk vending machine. Your why might be that you want to engage with the public, you want to, talk about using product on farm, you want to talk about lack of food miles, you want to talk about the efficiency. Those are the things you're going to be talking about. So you're not going to be talking about things that are unrelated to that. So if you're struggling for content, I guess the first thing I always say is remember why you're doing it. It's also important because it will remind you why people are buying from you. Are they coming to you for an education? Are they coming to you for farm fresh products? What is it that people are coming to you for? If you want to be a reliable source of information, make sure you are. It sounds simple, but it's something people often forget. Now, just a little bit of background, I guess. This is my hopefully you can, I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see that actually, because I think it's just shared. Hold on, sorry, I'm just going to share my screen again. hopefully you guys can see this. Please feel free to pop up if you can't. This is my Instagram page. So as you can see, it's obviously a photo-based platform, and I'm sharing a wide variety of things, whether that's cows or maybe a bit of my personal life. I feel like the balance is quite important. I want people to be able to engage with me as well as the cows. So this is what I'm sharing. The reason I'm showing you this is because this bit up here is actually quite important, and people often forget that. So this is just applicable for Instagram, but we'll talk about the other platforms too. This here, where it says dairy farmer Amy, is essentially your name. And then this here, which is the dairy daughter, is your handle. So, for example, the CLA might have country, land and business as their handle, but they might have something different as their name. This name here, where it says Dairy Farmer Amy, is searchable. So that's how people can find you. So often people will just have Amy in there. But in my opinion, that's not that helpful, because people might not go searching for just Amy. They might not know me. They might be searching for a dairy farmer. So, for example, if you're setting up a business, maybe an ice cream business, then you would want to put ice cream or shop or vending machine in that headline there, because people can search for that. If you just have your name in there, it won't come up. So you won't be indexing in people's search. That's quite important because it makes you easier to find. A similar thing with Facebook and Twitter. Make it simple when you choose a name so that people can easily find you. To be honest, the basic information that you want to put out is often forgotten. So I obviously want people to know that I am dairy farming. I want people to know that my aim is to tell the story of a British dairy farm. And that is quite important in my, I guess, bio. The same comes with Facebook and Twitter. If you are sharing a business page, opening times, directions, can people find you? Where can they find you? You know, we want to share all that basic information. If people come to your page and they're looking for opening times and they can't find it, they'll go somewhere else. It's quite easy for people to just turn off. And as sad as that is, obviously social media is very quick and people can easily just shop elsewhere. So we'll come on to the platforms, but whichever one you're using, TikTok even, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the key thing is that you've got your main information out there. How do people contact you is always an obvious one. People have an email on there, but it's hidden behind multiple buttons. People will want to contact you, so please make sure that they know how to. Again, it sounds really simple, but they could just easily go elsewhere. With that shop window I showed you, they had colours, they had a theme. Try and stick with colours, you know, make it look professional. If you want to have a logo, great, but keep it consistent and make sure people know what to expect. I think consistency is actually more important than anything else. Another tool that is Canva. Now this is a free tool, I'm just going to, you can see, but Canva is basically a design tool. Now it's a free, you can get a paid version, but it's not necessary. This is a really quick and easy way to make your content look better. So if you click on create a design here, it will give you all these options of how to create a post. So if you want to do an Instagram post, if you want to do a Facebook post, this makes sure that all the sizing is right, everything's right. So for example, if I wanted to do a grand opening for my shop, I could just literally type in opening and it's come up with all these templates. Now, if you've not used Canva before, I'm not going to talk you through the whole thing, but it's the easiest free tool that I found to make content look good. You can edit all of this, you can change the colors to suit you and make the most of it. Definitely make sure that the colors and well, absolutely everything basically just suit you. Go back to the why you're doing it. So for example, if you're like me, maybe a dairy farmer, and you're trying to educate people about dairy farming, maybe you show a behind the scenes, what I'm doing day to day. You might show the animals. But for some of you, for example, if you are in an office-based job, this might be different. You might think, oh, I've not got as much to show. Okay, are you just starting an office? Have you done a renovation? Could you do before and after pictures? Could you do meet the team? Could you do a quiz maybe to get to know the team? This obviously will differ depending on what your business is or if you're doing it on a personal level, but don't be afraid to introduce yourself. I'm just changing slides, so hopefully you can all see this. The other thing is awareness days. So calendar days are a great one. So for example, this tool is literally a website called Awareness Days Events Calendar. The one thing I'd say be careful with this is make sure they're UK days, because when you're finding these days, there'll be all sorts. There'll be National Dog Day, National Take Your Dog to Work Day, you know, National Cow Day, but some of them will be American. So like, for example, Mother's Day is a different day in America. You want to keep to just UK days, especially if your consumers are just in the UK. These are a good pillar for content if you're stuck. So for example, you might have introduced yourself, you might have introduced the team, but you might still be struggling for ideas. Go and look on this website and think about what else you could post. I'm going to pause in case anybody's got any questions. Feel free to just pop them in the chat box. I'm keeping my eye out. But I know I have to like squish quite a lot of content in. Obviously, the what you post and the lack of inspiration is what people often struggle with. People often ask me about, I guess, negative criticism as well. You know, getting maybe some vegans or some haters commenting on posts, especially what this is always sensory check everything you're putting out. So don't post anything with animals or anybody in a compromising position. Don't post anything where it could be used against you. You know, remember, you are like a brand. Treat it in a professional manner. Another important thing is use high quality images. I know it's difficult when you're a business or a person and you're doing the social media single-handedly. It's quite hard for you to, I guess, run around and do everything and then have to do social media on top. But iPhones have good quality images now. So please just try and make sure that you've got a person or a subject in the frame, the photo's clear or the video is clear, and that, you know, you focus on what you're actually trying to show in the picture. We'll come on to Facebook versus Twitter versus Instagram, but the good thing with Twitter and Facebook is that you don't actually need a photo. Obviously, with Instagram, which I predominantly use, you do always need a photo. And more now, you need a video. In terms of saving you time, then you can use scheduling platforms. So lots of you will have seen this before. There's loads and loads of scheduling platforms out there. This is just the Facebook version called Planner. So if you can't see this on your Facebook page, it's because your Facebook page isn't a personal page. It needs to be a business profile for you to be able to do this. And in your business profile, on the left, you will see these little icons. One looks like a home, one looks like a bell. I'm on the calendar one. And this is essentially a planner. So you could plan all your social media for the next month today. This is great because it will share to Facebook and Instagram if you want it to. You can choose different times, you can choose different posts, and this is a great way to get organized. There are loads of them out there. There's Hootsuite, which is a popular one, but a lot of them try to charge you, whereas this one is actually free. People often say, how often should I be posting? I'd say actually consistency is better than anything. If you're posting twice a week consistently, then Facebook and Instagram are going to know that you show up twice a week. If you post once this week and then 5 times next week, I guess the platform's going to be a bit like, what is she doing today? Try and keep it consistent, and hopefully that you'll be rewarded then. I guess the next part really is, I can't see any questions in the box, so I'll carry on. The next part really is who you're speaking to. Now, I said I'd cover this, and it's often something people worry about. It's all these different platforms. You know, we've got TikTok emerging quickly, we've got Instagram wanting videos, YouTube been there for years, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. There's so many social media platforms. The key thing is that you don't need to do them all. You can't spread yourself across them all because it will take up all your time. Unless you've got a massive marketing team, this is going to be impossible. The thing here is, where are your audience? So can you get some idea about the demographic, the age group of people that are following you? If you're a small business and you don't have many followers, this actually might be easier than you think. If you have an Instagram or Facebook business profile or creator profile, Facebook will give you insights about these people. So if I go back, the button on the left where I've clicked on the calendar, the one underneath that looks like a graph or kind of like a bar chart is going to show you some insights. So this will show you what time people are online, what age people, what gender people. You need to take a bit of use your imagination a bit and think about what these people want to see, but also which platform they're going to be on. So for example, you might say, okay, I'm going to focus all my efforts on Facebook and Snapchat. Now, these are 2 very different platforms. Facebook has a much, much older audience than Snapchat for a start. So I'd already be thinking, well, do you know who you're targeting? Because Snapchat users tend to be under 25. So be careful here. Then also, obviously, it differs what you're going to share. So if you share a quick photo in the garden showing what you're doing today, it might do really, really well on Snapchat in terms of you get lots of people following you and responding to you. But on Facebook, it might do awfully. The platforms differ, and so you kind of have to think about that. You can't speak to everybody, and if you try to, you're going to speak to nobody. So think carefully about who you're posting to and what you're going to put out there. Generally, now this is a general statement, so don't come for me and say I'm wrong, because it's opinion based. But generally, Facebook is an older audience where people tend to like selling and information. So people use it a bit as a shopping channel now. And if not, they're looking at what their friends are doing, they're looking at photos, and they're just looking for information, really. Twitter tends to be quite a lot more opinionated. So if you guys are on Twitter, you might have seen this yourself. People tend to tell you their thoughts even if you didn't ask for them. So there's a lot of discussion. If you're into sharing articles and you like topics, topical discussions such as what's happening in government, maybe some governmental changes to our legislations in farming, things like that, then the discussion tends to be quite strong on Twitter, but people are not worried about telling you what they think. Instagram, obviously, you've probably guessed, I sway towards because I like the photo sharing element, but it's great for product-based businesses because you get to give some context to what you're doing, and you can share photos without words. It's a good opportunity, I think, to show personality through video, through photo. It's a younger audience, but not as young as TikTok. So if anybody uses TikTok or knows it, then you'll know that most of the audience are under 23, so even younger than Snapchat, and it's gaining traction massively. And so Instagram are trying to compete. Instagram is driving video to compete with TikTok. So yeah, it totally depends what suits you and what suits your audience, but don't try and do all of them. It would just be way too much effort. Obviously, I've said already that you might be able to get a bit of information about your audience, but I think it's important to dig a little deeper. So get to know them. I've just discussed where we can find them. So are they on Instagram? Are they on YouTube? Are they on Facebook? But also think about what kind of demographic they fit into. So for example, if somebody follows you and starts liking all your posts, can you click on their page and find anything about them? Now, they might be private, so you might not be able to see anything, but you might be able to tell that they have a family. You might be able to tell that they have young children. Their shopping habits as a young family are going to be very different to an older generation person who's maybe only shopping for two. So for example, if you're selling food and maybe drink direct from the farm, then person who is shopping for themselves, a single, maybe under 30, versus a person who is shopping for young kids, will be looking for different content. So the person who's looking for their family might want recipes for kids. They might want, colouring in activities. They might want days out for kids. Whereas people who are buying just for themselves might want single portion recipes, or how can I do this as a person, I guess, as a single household, because that will mix it up. Somebody's also just said, what about WhatsApp, which is a very fair point. So WhatsApp is obviously a great platform and tends to be used within closed circles. So the benefit of WhatsApp is that the messages are private. I think there's great potential with WhatsApp for more, I guess, transparency between business and consumer, even personal and consumer. So for example, previously, if I saw a page and I wanted to ask them a question, I might have to submit the question to the inbox and wait 2 to 3 days for a reply. WhatsApp gives the ability for you to be maybe messaging that person back and forth. It's more instant, it's quicker, and it can definitely support all these platforms. But yeah, very good point. I guess what I'm saying about each of the platforms, whether it's social media, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, let's get a bit of an insight into the person that's out there. If they comment on your posts, you could reply, because it's great to build up a bit of a relationship with them. If you are a business, this is particularly important because it will class as a form of engagement. I can't see any other questions, so I'm going to carry on, but feel free to ask any more in the Q&A box if you want to. But engagement is essentially the way people react. So how do people engage with you? This normally comes in the form of likes, comments, shares, and unfortunately, the social media world is often defined by how many likes you're getting, how many followers you've got. It's often the first thing people ask. An engaged audience means people like what you're putting out there. So that's why it's important to know who they are. I guess I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen a minute while I show you my individual page. Hopefully it will let me. Okay, so for example, on my own personal Instagram page, people might ask me how many followers I've got. That would be a clear, I guess, indication of how people are engaging with me. But I actually disagree with that. I think you could have 20,000 followers, but only one person liking your posts. and you could have 5,000 followers, but you're getting really, really good engagement. So for example, if I did a video and only 10 people watched it, then obviously people aren't really engaging with what I'm seeing. Whereas if it's being pushed out to lots of people, then hopefully people are liking what I'm seeing. Lots of you will know, if you're using Instagram, that Reels or short videos is becoming essentially the new thing because of TikTok. Reels are a good way to talk about engagement because you can see the views on my page. So anybody can see this. You can see I get 17.2 thousand views on one reel and then 5,000 on another. That is all an indication of what people think, what people like to see. It totally varies. Some of them might be 15,000, some of them might be 20,000, some of them might be 5,000. This comes down to lots of reasons. One of them might be that you didn't use music that people liked, but another might be just because it's completely unrelated to your page. One thing I will say is that this Instagram platform is often used for, I guess, quick fire stories. So Instagram stories, if you're not aware, only last 24 hours. So it's like me posting a picture of what I'm doing right now and it will be gone tomorrow. So that's a quick fire Instagram story. You can view them by clicking on my logo and they only last 24 hours. The difference with these posts and these videos is that they last a lot longer. With Instagram stories, the ones that only last a day, most people, they're saying 80% of people listen to them on mute. So the sound doesn't really matter. So even when I'm doing a talking video, I always make sure to put captions on because most people will have their sound off, might be at work. People might be deaf and might not be able to hear it. So I always caption what I'm talking about. The difference with these videos, where you can see they're getting not only 21,000 views, but 1,000 likes, is that most people are listening to them with the sound on. So 80% of people are listening to Reels with the music. So the music is actually playing quite a big part. Somebody else has just asked, are videos effective and how long should they be for most effectiveness? That's a really good question. So one of the key things about, why can't I get that to go away? One of the key things about video is that it's kind of depends what the content is. You can engage people with a longer video, but most videos are getting better engagement if they're under 30 seconds. So actually video has to be quite quick for people to keep up. I know that sounds really short and there are exceptions. For example, YouTube, people will be going to YouTube for longer form content. But with these reel videos, which I've just showed you, most of these videos will be under 30 seconds. Some of them might even be 10. So down here, you can see this one got 21.6 thousand views, which for somebody who only has 18,000 followers is quite a lot. That video was less than 10 seconds, less than 15 seconds. It was really, really short. So yeah, I mean, it is a case of, sorry. Let's just stop it. It is a case of what platform you're using, because Facebook tends to accept longer videos. But I'd say if you're using Instagram and TikTok or anything like that, stick to shorter videos, so more like quick fire. Come back to that, why are you on the social media platform? So for example, I want to educate people about dairy farming. Okay, so I'm talking about why we graze the cows, why the cows come inside in the winter, why we milk the cows, a day in the life of me. I want to normalize this and make people see that, okay, this is cool, but also I actually want to use this page to make dairy farming seem like a viable career. You know, I worry that children in school aren't being, I guess, taught about farming. And so I'm trying to make it seem a great place to work. So I've decided that alongside educating people about dairy farming, I also want to show that there's a fun side to it and that I do have time off. Rightly or wrongly, you might disagree with the way that I do this, but I show a bit of my personal life as well, because I'm choosing to do so. Somebody else has just asked a really good question, which is a very common question, and I'm going to read it because I'm not sure whether you can all see it or not. As Instagram and Facebook are both the same firm and everything you put on Instagram also gets put on, is that a pain for interaction? I find for the people I follow, it's slightly irritating to look at both. And so obviously the comments don't appear on each. Very, very good question. And you are right. The platforms are owned by the same people, and therefore the sharing element across the two can be annoying. For people who I follow, I think tend to be using one platform more than the other. So for example, I use predominantly Instagram. So if I see, for example, the local estate agents has posted something on Instagram, I probably won't see it on Facebook because I'm not really using Facebook that much. If I did see it on Facebook as well, then I'm not sure it would irritate me, but I know what you mean. Obviously, the way around this would be tailoring the posts slightly. With the scheduling channel I showed you, you can do that. You can just edit one of the posts really easily. So you can just change the photo, change the text, and make them look different. The problem is that becomes more time consuming. People always say, I don't have time to do a separate post for Facebook and Instagram. That's fine, especially in small businesses where you've not got a massive marketing team. I don't think it's feasible for us all to be able to do, you know, different posts all the time. The thing I'd say, and I would emphasize, is don't expect the post to perform well on both. So you might film a really great video with really great music. You might be showing what you're up to today, and it might do really well on Instagram because it might be absolutely perfect for Instagram. But as soon as you put that on Facebook, it might do terribly. The platforms are different, even though we kind of treat them as the same. But B, the audience is going to be slightly different. So something that I put on here might not perform exactly the same. To be honest, there's no like one answer. It depends what works for you. A lot of people's constraint will be time. And obviously I'm trying to make it easier for you guys by talking about scheduling and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's always a challenge with these platforms because that, like you say, they've merged them together. When we go back to engagement, people, I guess, always ask about how I grew the page and how I got from no followers to 18.4 thousand. To be honest, a lot of it is quite cringy, but it's making friends online. So I'm not saying these are like my friends that I meet up with every week. I'm talking about people who I support and they support me back. So if you see a post or somebody else's post that you like, comment on it, share it, engage with other people. Not only will they maybe engage with you back, but also your comment will then be seen to a wider audience. So for example, I might have 18,000 followers, but I might be commenting on somebody's post that's got 50,000 followers. If she then comments on my post and follows along with me, hopefully my page will grow. This is similar if you have a business. So if you are, for example, a local butcher's or a local meat box company, and you are, I guess, promoting your latest meat box, and you want people to know about it, you want people to share it. Is there other local businesses that you could collaborate with? So an obvious one is always gin and tonic. Gin and tonic go together, as in you need one to need the other most of the time. no judgment if you have straight gin, but mostly gin and tonic goes together. They're not competing against each other, but they can collaborate to work together to benefit both tonic and gin. So it's the same for us. If you are a meat box company, could you work with a local bakery or a local chicken farmer to offer a breakfast box and do eggs and bread and bacon, so that you can offer, I guess, more than you've got now? Or if you don't want to offer that long term, you could just do it as a competition. So you could say, I've teamed up with a local egg farmer, a local or any poultry business, a local bakery, and a local ice cream company to offer you the perfect summer holiday hamper. Now, the stipulation of this competition is that people have to follow all of you. So you all gain followers from this. This isn't really competition. Yes, you're all local businesses, and I guess you all want the consumer to buy from you, but you're benefiting from each other's audience. So remember that there are ways that you can collaborate without it being direct competition. If you go onto your phone, I'm just going to show you my actual phone because it's not very easy to show you on the computer. If you go onto your Facebook profile, you'll see, for example, on Facebook, a lot of it will be maybe what your friends are sharing, what your aunties and family are sharing. Facebook tends to be likes and comments as the engagement, and that's how engagement is ranked. One thing I have found is that often if you comment on a business page or even a personal page, the person will not reply. So they'll just read it or like it, and that will be it. You've just missed an opportunity to further engage with that person and get further support from that person. If you liked their comment, you probably just essentially ended the conversation there. If you commented back and said, that's so great, lovely to hear from you, I don't know, maybe ask them a question back, then you're engaging with that person for them to hopefully engage with you back. Now, the important thing about this is that then they grow to like and trust you. So like I said before, if your platform is a source of reliable information and you're showing people that this is where you can come for reliable information about farming, this is where you can come for great photography, you have to stick with that. So when people ask you questions, you need to reply, because if you want to be reliable, you need to reply. If you're doing great photography and people were asking questions about, I don't know, where this photo was taken or what camera you used, I mean, surely it is beneficial to just share wider and hopefully encourage people to engage with you. I mentioned competitions and collaborations already, and they're a great one, but another one which you might or might not have used before is hashtags. Now, hashtags are a bit of an open-ended thing, so lots of people get quite confused by them, not really sure how to use them. The key thing I would say is be quite intentional with hashtags. So I'm just going to share my screen with you again so that you can see. So this is a post I did about Open Farm Sunday. Now, Open Farm Sunday was something I'd wanted to be involved with for a while and was really excited to be involved. But the hashtag here was a good opportunity. So this at Open Farm Sunday in the text is me tagging Open Farm Sunday. There, I have encouraged Open Farm Sunday to share my post. Now, you might see above that, I've also tagged Y Farm, which is Ali Hunter Blair. So some of you might know him or follow him. He's got quite a big profile from doing a TV show a few years ago. He was the one that kind of encouraged me to do it. And again, I've interacted with him so that hopefully he interacts with me back. Now, I actually know him quite well now, so obviously that's what I mean about making friends online. But I guess the idea there is we're sharing hopefully to both of our benefit. Now, the key thing here is I've used hashtags underneath. So I've only gone for 4 hashtags, and hopefully I've gone for quite direct ones. If you click on these hashtags, hopefully it will work on my computer. It will tell you how many people have used them. So this open farm hashtag has been used by 15,000 people. Okay, so that's not bad. You actually have a chance of getting noticed on the top page. Now, if I go back onto my open farm post, I'm guessing general public, however, will have had a lot more uses, okay? So if it loads, yeah, it might not let me. I'll turn my screen. Okay, so that one has had 21,000, so still not that many. What I find often is that people are using hashtags that are so common that you are never going to get noticed for them. So for example, hashtag farm or hashtag UK. They are so popular that you are going to struggle with getting noticed because so many people will be using hashtag farm and hashtag cow. Try and use ones which have less posts. It sounds a bit annoying and a bit complex, but it's actually quite easy. If you go onto your phone and type in where you'd search for a person, then you can just search for hashtags and it will tell you how many people have used them. Often they have millions, like millions and millions. Another form of a hashtag is a location tag. So this is where people will tag where they are. Obviously, Open Farm Sunday, I couldn't really tag because it would just be my farm, which is not a great tag. But if I went to, for example, a big event like this week, if I went to a dairy farming show, I might tag that I'm at the dairy farming show, and then other people would see that I was there. So essentially, a location tag is another form of a hashtag, and they're really good to get people to use or to see you, and they wouldn't normally have done. Sorry. I think, to be honest, a lot of it can be quite overwhelming and you're not really sure where to start. The key thing is remember why you're doing it. A lot of times people say, how did you grow? And I think it comes down to being a little bit unique. I have to do things that are a little bit different sometimes. I have to think outside the box, but I also want to make my content educational. Often it probably won't be that educational for farmers because they'll already know the stuff I'm talking about, but it would be probably educational for the general public. I've got a lot of people following me who aren't farmers, so I want to tell them why milk's healthy and the fact that milk doesn't have antibiotics in. You know, we need to tell people this stuff because we can't just assume they know it. Be unique. Even if you're a business, you still need to be unique. The other thing I would say is think about what your personality can bring. So you don't necessarily have to show your face on Instagram. Obviously I chose to, but you don't have to, but you still need to have a personality. So do you write your messages or your posts in first person? Do you use I, or do you use the business name? So for example, if I used Pastures Green, you might talk in third person. That's going to make your personality online a little bit different. If people message you and ask a question, don't be afraid to sign off with your name, because then they know there's a real person behind the message. I think it's key to remember that people want to trust you, especially with small businesses and agriculture and diversifications. So try and remember that. A scheduling tool is a great way of saving time. It's quite easy to say, oh, you can get all your scheduling done in a day and you can have it done for the rest of the month. In theory, that is, more difficult than we think. But if you have a schedule of things you're going to talk about, for example, you might have fireworks night coming up, you might have Halloween, you might have Christmas, you might have a special offer for your business. That's already all sorted. You don't need to think about it. It's done in advance. Do it when you're in the office one day, and then you don't have to stress that you've not been posting as often. I guess the audience thing is a massive piece, and learning who you're sharing to. Hopefully we've all realized that it differs between platforms, so it's not always going to be the same. I really want everybody to think about how the platforms differ. Like you rightly said, if you're posting the same on each, it might get different reactions, but what do people want to see? Your Instagram audience might be totally different to what your TikTok or your Facebook audience are. You need to learn a little bit about those people. Don't be afraid to chat to them. Don't be afraid to ask them what they'd like to see from your business or your page, and engage with them, because at the end of the day, that is how you will grow. Does anybody have any more questions? That's most of the chatting done. Mark, I don't know whether you had like any questions asked in advance or anything, but
we haven't. No. However, I do have a question. I mean, how do you sort of balance between engaging with people but actually spending too much time, or potentially having people wasting your time that you could be doing something more productively? How do you sort of strike that balance?
What, so like as in spending time online versus like in real life?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's always going to be a challenge, isn't it? Because I guess you sometimes probably feel like the more you put into it, the more you get out. But that can't be just done on time, because we all have busy lives, we have families, we have social lives, we have jobs. To be honest, the key tip I've learned is take a photo and post it later. You don't need to do stuff live. People might think it's live when you post it in the evening, and they might say, oh, look what she's been up to today. But who cares that I took that photo 3 hours ago? You know, I've snapped a little picture when we first started this webinar, before anybody joined, just to show what I was doing today. I've not posted that picture yet. Who cares? The people who are on the webinar now know that we're here and know that we're chatting, but for people who aren't here, it doesn't matter to them that that we're not live. I try and post or snap things as I go through the day, and then post all in one go, or post in batches. I can't spend half my day on my phone, because I easily could, and it would just zap so much of my time. I think especially if you like try and do a couple of platforms, you know, if you try and do Facebook, if you try and do Twitter, you suddenly trying to reply to people on one, reply to people on the other. If you've got a common, like, I guess, where people can contact you, like the WhatsApp one's quite good, isn't it? Because if you direct questions to just one place, they're probably easier to manage. I really focus on Instagram, so I have done a bit of other stuff in the past, but I try and focus on one page, because I guess I'm trying to not spread myself too thinly. Easier said than done, always, Mark. But there's a couple of there
are a few questions that have come in. Have you engaged with Jeremy Clarkson?
Yeah, well, I mean, that'd be worth it, wouldn't it? I mean, I've tried, but I'm not sure I'm the big time yet, but that'd be definitely worthwhile. So somebody's asked, does this actually bring you extra customers? Do you ever pay for advertising? So yes, this does bring me extra customers. So for those of you that have seen my page, you'll know that the Dairy Daughter page is just a personal page. I'm not selling anything. I'm not a business. I am a personal page showing what I do. So I don't need customers for that. If I had a product I decided to start, so if I decided I wanted to start selling these glasses, I'm sure I would have customers because they engage with what I post, but I don't have a customer. For my marketing business, however, Pastures Green, I do have customers. I have clients who I help with things like this. I'd say 95% of my customers have come from social media. So occasionally people will find out about me through word of mouth, and maybe through something like this. But most people will see my farm page, they'll hop over to my other page, and then they'll say, please, can you do a social media workshop for my business? Or, you know, please, can we meet and talk about my business social media? I don't pay for advertising personally. I haven't needed to. There's definitely merit in doing so. But the problem is with paying for advertising is that you have to be quite targeted. So, for example, if I was the CLA and I wanted to pay for advertising about the webinar today, it might be quite hard to specify who I want to reach. So for example, do I know what age group? Do I know what gender? Do I know what location? It has to be quite specific. But if I was the CLA and I knew exactly what people I wanted here today, then advertising can actually work quite well. Sorry, somebody else has put, I've put adverts not paid on Facebook, for example, when I have fresh produce to sell, but they disappear so quickly. They go into another, if they go into another site, such as local village Facebook page. Is there a way around that? To be honest, I'm not entirely sure with sharing with the local village page. I wonder if there'd be a way around that, if you could maybe share like a separate post on the village Facebook group. So keep the one page, if you like, for everybody that targets a wider group of people. So you've got fresh produce, it's available then. What does it include? How much is it? Where can people visit? What's your contact number? All the key details. And then on the village page, maybe do a completely separate post, because maybe Facebook doesn't like the fact that you're just sharing the two. But yes, somebody said you must be consistent. Nothing worse than seeing the last post or picture that were uploaded months ago. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try to keep it relevant. I try to keep it, you know, I'm generally posting stuff that's happened today. Like I just said, Mark, if I was posting about my day every single minute, I'd be constantly like, quick, I've just got to, but I have 600 cows to look after at the end of the day. So, you know, when the water trough broke this morning and I was having a meltdown about the water trough breaking, I couldn't post about it at the time. I might have just snapped a quick picture and thought, I'll post about this later and I'll reflect on how far I've come today. And I guess how my day's gone from one to another. Sorry, I don't understand. I'm thinking about a business perspective with these comments. I'm not sure I understand.
Sorry, no, that was in regards to must make sure you're being consistent and are consistently uploading stuff, and that you can't really take a break. You have to be consistently posting stuff on a regular basis in order to keep people engaged.
Yeah, well, I guess there is a way around that if you are using a scheduling tool, because people think you're present even if you're not. So I'm not saying you can't go on holiday, because there is a way around it. But for example, I every year take 2 weeks off in the summer. I just drop my phone for 2 weeks. And I mean, it's a personal thing as well, isn't it? You don't want to be on your phone all the time. You just want to enjoy a summer break away from everything. I'm sure when I come back, my engagement's always dipped a little bit because, like you say, people want to know that you're there. So if I disappear for 2 weeks, I do think that happens. But with a business, you can just schedule the posts in advance. The one thing I have found is that, you know, we were talking about with those like calendar days, so like National Bring Your Dog to Work Day, they always make you seem current. So whether it's a National Bring Your Dog to Work Day, which is a super random national one, or a really farming specific agricultural day, like for example, the first rain after a drought, which everybody's going to be celebrating together, they have to be quite timely and quite topical. They always get good engagement because everybody's talking about the same thing. We had a drought, you know, we had a heat wave last week, and my post on that did really well because everybody was in the same situation and boiling. So yeah, you're right, it is consistency, but there's ways around it to save you a bit of time for sure.
Wonderful. Well, I haven't seen any more questions come in. So Amy, thank you so much. It's been absolutely fascinating. And yes, please do follow Amy online. What are your various different accounts, Amy? Have you got them to hand so people can follow you?
Yeah. So predominantly I'm at The Dairy Daughter, and feel free to drop me a message if you need any more advice. I know it can be quite overwhelming at times, and I just say get stuck in, give it a go. It's definitely worthwhile.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Amy. Oh, hang on. Oh no, just one person saying thank you. That sounds good.
Thank you.
So yes, thank you all for attending. Thank you very much, Amy, and all the very best.